Hello, girls, guys, or otherwise. This is Rich with your Christo-Pagan Sunday. This week we are going through the Nag Hammadi scriptures. This is the book that I'm reading from. It is the Marvin Mayer translation. You can also find this on sacredtext.org. I believe is the website. You can most certainly find it there on the Text's website. Um, we are starting, excuse me, under the title of Know Yourselves. This is on page 28 if you're following along in this particular book. If you're not, I do believe that the Sacred Text website also has, and I'll try to leave a link down below so you can follow along. But the Sacred Text website, I do believe, also has the subtitles as they are in this book. So we're going to just, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the line and then I'm going to read my commentary from my notes, because that seems to be a lot easier. It goes a little quicker, and reading everything and then reading it again and breaking it down is a little time consuming, and I don't want to take up too much time because we have a lot of things to cover. But before I go on, I must, of course, implore you that if you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down there. Hit that bell notification so you get notified maybe of videos whenever they come out. Hit that like or dislike button. Doesn't matter to me at all. Appease the algorithmic gods. All hail the algorithmic gods of YouTube. And leave a comment whether you like or dislike, if you have anything to add or take away. This is my first time going through the Nag Hammadi scriptures, so it is somewhat confusing for me, and I would very much like your inputs. So go ahead and hit up the comment section. Maybe we can get some good dialogue happening down there, and let's get on into it without any further ado. Under the title of Know Yourselves, again, this is on page 28. When we heard this, we became sad. But when he saw that we were sad, he said, I say this to you that you may know yourselves. Okay. My notes, and just so you know, some of these notes are like 2 weeks old by the time I'm filming this, because yeah, we had that situation with the living room still, trying to get with the insurance company to get that fixed, all that stuff. Anyway, so I can't really remember exactly what my train of thought was on some of these notes, but I'm gonna try, and we're gonna just go through this as if, we are doing a study, as it were. And I have here, I can see why the disciples were sad. The bar that was set, and this is from the previous reading, the bar that was set for them is so high, it seems contradictory in terms of you can't make it to heaven, but at the same time, you can. So, yes, I can see why they are sad. Then he says, I say this to you that you may know yourself, and I can get on board with self-awareness. It is how we learn and how we grow into our best selves. So I can totally understand that, and I can totally get behind that part. But the whole part of, the bar being set so high for the disciples to be able to enter into this wonderful kingdom and whatnot, it seems to be set really, really high for them. So if they are sad, I can understand their sadness, because it seems like, they won't ever be able to get there if that is the standard that is set for them. The next passage reads, quote, Heaven's kingdom is like a head of grain that sprouted in a field, and when it was ripe, it scattered its seed, and again it filled the field with heads of grain for another year. So with you, be eager to harvest yourselves a head of the grain of life, that you may be filled with the kingdom. My notes. Here we have another talk about what it means to be filled. It is a good parable with a solid meaning, and of how when we are filled to spread the light and love that we have to others around us. I can get on board with this parable. I like it. It's not one that I would necessarily use a lot, um, but and it doesn't have a lot of different meanings in this context. But I kind of like the way that the parable is said here. It is overall a good way of um, showing the disciples here how to be filled and how to share this filledness with others, the filling of the Spirit and whatnot. Moving on. Quote, "And as long as I am with you, pay attention to me and trust in me. But when I am far from you, remember me. And remember me because I was with you and you did not know me." Okay. I have notes. I get everything from this phrase except the part where he says, "You did not know me." Keep in mind that he is saying this to two of his disciples who are trying to know him, and he is talking in riddles, so you can't really know him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I'm trying to understand you, I'm trying to get to know you, and you're speaking in riddles, and it's frustrating as hell. I can totally understand why these disciples don't know him, because you're speaking in riddles, you're speaking in these little parables, and you're not really helping them get to know you. You're not helping them on this journey of trying to get to know you if you're constantly being the Riddler. Um, so if they have frustration here, I can totally be on board with that. If they don't know their savior, their master and whatnot, if they don't know this influential teacher, then really nobody can know him, because if he's speaking in riddles to his own disciples, then how's he going to speak to somebody who cannot physically meet him? Um, so this phrase here, I really don't like. That you do not know me, and or you did not know me, and I don't like that, because it's not like they're not trying. Um, Moving on here. Um, and just so you know, whenever I put down all my notes, I did not particularly note which part they came from, so I may be going back and forth here for a minute. Let's see. "Blessed will they be who have known me. Woe to those who have heard and have not believed. Blessed will they be who have not seen but yet have believed." Wow, this is a tongue twister of a verse here. So this one I want to stop at, because we have a definite correlation to John 20 verse 29, which I'm going to bring out my New Catholic Answer Bible. Yeah, New Catholic Answer Bible. I want to make sure I got the title correct. And I'm going to actually turn to that, because this is reminiscent of John 20 verse 29. And I basically turned right to the freaking page within John whenever I found John. So 20 verse 29, Jesus said to him, "Have you come to believe because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen me and have believed." Basically, kind of like word for word, the same exact thing. So definitely, I do understand this verse. I do get behind it. I see the quality in it. You know, we as human beings, we are so quick to believe only the things that we can see, only the things that we can verify as truth through the scientific method, and um, through rigorous screenings, and time after doing the same methods time after time and getting the same results. The scientific method as it is. Many times we are putting more faith into that than those things that we cannot see, that we cannot prove. And, a certain amount of believing in things that we cannot see is kind of needed in our faith system and in our lives. Believing in a better world being possible is something that we very much need to have in our lives in order to go from the day to day. If we only, and I don't want to undermine the the importance of being logical and being reasonable and following the scientific methods where they lead. I don't want to undermine that at all, because that brings us many wonderful things, such as learning more about our history and our biological makeup, the capability of having vaccines, the capability of knowing what we can and cannot put into our bodies that will or will not fight off a certain disease. The science is there. Science has time and time again proven that this is how it works and this is how it should work. And if it doesn't, then, that's a one-off anomaly. But the overarching truth is that it does work. And we need to look at the scientific method for many things, absolutely. So I don't want to undermine that. But sometimes having faith in the things that you can't see, that you can't prove, is okay as well. I have like fur up here. We were, just to give you, and it's showing up on camera, but it's not like, I have like one little speck here. Just to give you a little backstory. Every night around 9 o'clock, we have my partner and the puppies, we all have cuddle time around 9 o'clock. The alarm goes off for 9 o'clock. That's whenever we start settling down. Just so happens I have tomorrow off. Whenever you're watching this, I have that day off. This is Saturday. Excuse me. And we have what we call cuddle time. So the dogs get up on the bed and we cuddle and all that stuff and just kind of unwind from the day. And it's wonderful and joyous. And yeah, I've seemed to have brought some fur with me, since they are all in there cuddled. Well, the two dogs are in their kennel, cuddled up and sleeping. And my partner is going to be asleep here in no time flat. Let me go ahead and grab a drink here. So anyway, yeah, I totally am on board with believing some things that you cannot see, but that not taking away from the truth of the things that you can see and the things that you can prove. Let's not dismiss those. The two, I do believe, can live simultaneously in the same universe. It's okay. But let's move on. I think I've hit that dead horse quite enough there. He says, quote, "Once again I appeal to you. I am disclosed to you as I am building a house useful to you when you find shelter in it, and it will support it will support your neighbor's house when theirs threatens to collapse." Okay. Let me see. Did I write anything on that, or did I want to keep going? Let's pause. Okay. Okay, and my note here is, this is a lovely phrase. The way it reads to me, and if you disagree, please comment down below, because I'd love to hear other people's interpretation of this. The way that it reads to me is that we can take shelter when needed by this house, but it doesn't leave others in the cold like you see in some of those elitist religions, or in the elitist religious thinking. It is about neighborly love. And in this, he says, not only am I building a house that will be useful to you when you need it, but your neighbor's house, whether they're in it or not, it's going to be there. It will support your neighbor's house. Not that it will be your neighbor's house, that it will support your neighbor's house when theirs threatens to collapse. So it is quite literally going to be a structure that is there to help assist your neighbor's house from collapsing. And I really like the neighborly love here. The neighborliness to this verse, I think, is very important and very wonderful, just in the way that it is, and the message that it brings of, leaning on your one neighbor, leaning on another, and not necessarily being from different worlds and being cloistered in your own world. And I love that phrasing. And if you have a different interpretation, a different reading to this, please let me know. The next one is, I tell you the truth, woe to those for whom I was sent down here. And I have a note here. Shouldn't the people you were sent down here for be blessed? Aren't you there to help? And this is an honest question, and not being frivolous. I don't understand why he would say, woe to those who I was sent down here for. Okay. I don't understand that. I don't get it. I'm kind of lost on it. The next one is, blessed will they be who are going up to the Father. And I have a note here. This seems like an obvious blessing that didn't need to be said. You're kind of just filling the air with woe and blessing, woe and blessing. It doesn't make any sense to say, blessed are those who are going up to the Father. Duh. I mean, isn't that like the whole point of going up to the Father, is that blessing of being there? I mean, wouldn't it just be, isn't it redundant saying that the people going up to the Father are blessed? I mean, that just seems something from the school of redundancy school. I mean, it doesn't, anyway. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me why that would be said. Moving on. Again, I warn you, you who exist, be like those who do not exist, that you may dwell with those who do not exist. And I have here, this phrase is a confusing one. Is this a reference to those who haven't existed in the physical form yet, or those who have not existed in the physical form at all? I'm very confused by this one, and I'll read it again. Again, I warn you, you who exist, be like those who do not exist, that you may dwell with those who do not exist. And now the second time of reading that and looking at it through a different lens here, I'm kind of thinking, like, is he saying to those who exist, those who are in physical being, be like those who are not existing or are not in a physical being, so be like the angels, that you may dwell with the angels? I mean, I think that's more of the reading here. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that one, because that one's a very confusing one, and he doesn't really address it beyond that. The next line reads, do not let heaven's kingdom become a desert within you. Do not be proud because of the light that enlightens. Rather, act toward yourselves as I myself have toward you. I have put myself under a curse for you, that you might be saved. And I have here, this phrase is actually quite good. If you are not one of those who has this blessing, or if you are one of the, I'm sorry, let me try that again. If you are one of those who has this blessing, nurture it. Don't treat it like this isn't a big deal, but also don't act elite about it. Be humble and be like Christ toward your fellow human beings, except speaking in riddles. Please don't speak in riddles to me. And if you do, please do it in the comments so other people can try to decipher what the hell you're talking about. I think that would be fun. Even those watching this as non-followers of Christ, treating people like Christ is still a good thing. Then we have an odd phrase of Christ being put under a curse. Is this about his sacrifice? And these are honestly questions of mine. Is this about his sacrifice? And if it is, that is an odd word to use for a sacrifice. I'm not sure how I feel about a crucifixion being called a curse. Because to me, a curse is something that is ethereal. It's something that happens outside of the physical. But a crucifixion was very much something that was physical. So unless there was a curse that went along with it, I don't know. That's not something I've ever heard reference to. So I'm kind of at a loss right there on that one. Let me get another drink here. And then we come on to the last word. And Peter gets me here. Peter responded to these comments and said, "Sometimes you urge us on toward heaven's kingdom, but at other times you turn us away, Master. Sometimes you encourage us, draw us toward faith, and promise us life. But at other times you drive us away from heaven's kingdom." My note is, thank you, Peter, for saying what all of us are saying. Being asked this straightforward question, here is Christ's response. The Master answered and said to us, "I have offered you faith many times, and have revealed myself to you, James, and you have not known me. Now I see you often rejoicing, and although you are delighted about the promise of life, you are sad and gloomy when you are taught about the kingdom." Note. Okay, because I'm confused here. I'm confused here since Peter and James are trying to know Christ. They may not be comprehending all that he is saying, but they are trying, and it would be easier if it weren't so cryptic. Is this a time barrier, or is it about him just being cryptic? And by that I mean, is this a time barrier of language and whatnot that I don't understand exactly what's being said here? Or is Christ himself just being awfully cryptic and sort of distant in a way? If they are rejoicing for what they are retaining, I don't see that as a bad thing. I can see why they are delighted about the promise of life. However, when they were told about it, the kingdom, and how difficult it was to get in, I also understand their sadness. Okay. Next, he says, "Nevertheless, you, through faith and knowledge, have received life. So disregard rejection when you hear it. But when you hear about the promise, be joyful all the more." And my notes here say, this is the key to what I have found to many Gnostic teachings out there. It's that through faith and knowledge is how you receive life. Unlike many Christian faiths, where it is said by faith alone that you receive life. Here we have an additional step, of really digging into the knowledge behind that faith. And I am all about digging in deeper and asking the harder questions and getting a little bit deeper into that practice, that faith, that aspect that we don't really know everything about. And yeah, we might feel a little something, but really digging into that is really, I think, where a lot of the wonderful parts of of any practice really lie, doesn't matter. um that's where it all really is in that deepness, just digging in and getting uh, the most luscious bites of what the faith entails. So to me, that's where it all um, really stems from, is really digging in, getting to know the faith, getting to know why you're believing what you're believing, and where your belief system lies within even an established religion, such as Christianity or Gnosticism or something like that. Um, Digging in and knowing, hey, I believe this because of this, and I have a strong feeling towards this, and that's why I believe it. That to me is really the antithesis of being a practitioner or being a believer of anything, not just blindly following. And so yeah, I quite like this phrase, or this little passage here. Okay, we're gonna move on. uh, let's see. The next one says, I tell you the truth, whoever will receive life and believe in the kingdom will never leave it, not even if the Father wants to banish him. Okay, so here's my notes. Christ then says, if you receive life and believe in the kingdom, you will never leave it. This confuses me because what does he mean by receiving life? I'm kind of confused here. Is this the same as receiving the Spirit of Christ, or is this about receiving Spirit and being filled, quote unquote? It goes a little further though. If you do these things, then not even the Father, if the Father wishes to banish you, you will not be banished. This is a very big guarantee. This is a lot of uh, a lot of weight that this one phrase is carrying, and it's a very heavy verse, or heavy phrase, sentence, and yeah, it's carrying a lot of weight for one sentence. So I yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. Let's move on though. We go on to with this quote, this is all I shall tell you at this time. Now I shall ascend to the place from which I have come. When I was eager to go, you have driven me off, and instead of accompanying me, you have chased me away. Okay. My notes here. Christ is giving a final farewell here for now. He says that he is going back to whence he came. The final line in this phrase seems slightly passive-aggressive. I don't know how to really take this phrase here. And that phrase, again, I'll read it again. When I was eager to go, you have driven me off, and instead of accompanying me, you have chased me away. Very confusing, very cryptic, kind of passive-aggressive. Don't like it. Let's try to figure out what the heck is being said here, because I'm very confused by this one. Let me have another drink here before I go hoarse. The next part, and this is going to be a little further here. I think this is actually pretty much going almost to the end here. So let's go ahead and read. Quote, "Be attentive to the glory that awaits me, and when you have opened your hearts, listen to the hymns that await me up in heaven. Today I must take my place at the right hand of the Father. I have spoken my last word to you. I shall depart from you, for a chariot of spirit has carried me up, and from now on I shall strip myself that I clothe myself. I From now on I shall strip myself that I may clothe myself." Odd phrasing there, but I'm gonna get to it. And I have here. This phrase has a lot going on. First, recognize the glory that he is ascending to. And then we are told about something that happens when we open our hearts. First, what does it mean to open our hearts? This is a phrase that we hear quite often now. I don't know if it was a phrase that was around back then as much, but this is certainly a phrase that we hear a lot nowadays. It is about opening ourselves to receive what is out there. We lower our guards, we lower our guards and we accept what comes through. In this case, when we open ourselves, we can listen to the hymns from the kingdom that are being sung in Christ's honor. The last part of this phrase states that he will be at the right hand of the Father. This is and has been seen as a place of honor and trust for whoever is on the right side. I would imagine this probably has something to do with being vulnerable to attack, but I'm not exactly sure on the historicalness or the etymology of that phrase being on the right hand side. And then we have, let's see. Let me see. Okay. And then we have the imagery of Christ ascending in a chariot, which is commonly used as part of mythologies. This part that sticks out to me is the stripping of the clothes. Stripping the earthly flesh to the heavenly garment is very much a part of Christian teaching. The concept of this earthly body being a temporary one is nothing new. Part of me loves this, while I respect and celebrate that we are all different. I know that for some people, certain bodily autonomies present challenges. Some of these can be changed during our lifetime. However, there are those that are also permanent. And this can act as a little bit of solace for those individuals. And by that I mean, we come into this world full of challenges and everything. And, for some of us, we have disabilities or other abilities. I don't want to be ableist, but some people are born with a deformed hand. Some people are born with no legs or without the use of their legs, or maybe that's something that happens during a lifetime. The use of your legs going away, something like that. Some people are born in the wrong autonomous body. Entirely, and some of those things can be fixed, like fixing with gender reassignment surgery and whatnot. Some of those things can be fixed, rectified, made different, but some of those things cannot be. And I would only hope that at the very least that this phrase can serve as a little bit of solace for those people who are not able to walk or have some sort of debilitating disease or illness or genetic mutation. I don't like using that word. That does not give them the easiest of lives. I would hope that this would add as some sort of solace that, one day that person that is paralyzed will be able to, be in a heavenly garment, or in a new body, or in a new way, and have full use of those legs again. Something of that nature. I quite love this phrase. Yeah. I'm just going to leave that there. The next part I have no notes on. And it says, "So pay attention. Blessed are those who have proclaimed the Son before he came down, so that when I did come, I might ascend. Blessed 3 times over are those who were proclaimed by the Son before they came into being, so that you might share with them." A little cryptic here. Not really sure how I feel about it. Yeah, kind of cryptic. Don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, let's have a discussion on it. Next part is the apocalyptic ascent. And I have here, I actually started putting in my notes, read the first 3 paragraphs first. Yeah. Or the first 3 sections. "And so I shall follow my notes. When he said this, he left. Peter and I knelt down, gave thanks, and sent our hearts up to heaven. We heard with our ears and saw with our eyes the noise of wars, a trumpet blast, and great turmoil. When he passed beyond that place, we sent our minds up further. We saw with our eyes and heard with our ears hymns, angelic prayers, and angelic rejoicing. Heavenly majesties were singing hymns, and we rejoiced too. Again, after this, we wished to send our spirits up to the majesty. When we ascended, we were not allowed to see or hear anything, for the other disciples called to us and asked us, 'What did you hear from the teacher? What did he tell you? Where did he go?'" My notes here. These sections seem awfully familiar to me. This situation of being in quiet reflection and ascending to the point of having visions of something outside of the physical realm. Of course, I am talking about astral projection. Even the end is akin to astral projection, where someone calls your name, hence pulling you out of the deep meditative state. To me, this seems like an astral projection type of session, where Peter and James were astrally projecting into the kingdom and having these visions, and the other disciples came in and be like, "Hey, James, Peter, what's going on? What did you see? What did you hear? What did the teacher say?" And hence pulled them back. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Anyway, the next part, I have to read the next 2 paragraphs, and then we're almost done. Which is actually a lot shorter of a video than I thought. Okay. We answered them. He ascended. He gave us his right hand and promised all of us life. He showed us He showed us children coming after us and commanded us to love them, since we are to be saved for their sakes. When they heard this, they believed the revelation. But they were angry about those who would be born. Not wishing to give them reason to take offense, I sent each of them to a different location. I myself went to Jerusalem, praying that I might acquire a share with the loved ones who are to appear. My notes. I don't understand why the other disciples were angry about those who were not born yet. Is this because they were set on ascending to the heavenly kingdom before another generation came around. Furthermore, we see possibility we see possibility of offense by the other disciples is borderline disrespectful, in my view. Um, how dare they be offended about Christ revealing himself to James and Peter, if that's what their offense might have been to? Um, so yeah, I don't really know why they would be offended. They, you know, James and Peter had a vision, a communication with Christ that they did not. Why would you be offended by that? I'm sure you've had many personal times with Christ where the others were not necessarily privy um, to what was said in that discussion, in that conversation. So why would you feel offended that there were certain things um, said between James and Peter? Or is this more of an offense towards, or being offended that the next generation is coming? Or, I mean, there's so many questions here in this secret book of James that we are going through. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Jelly. I just scared the crap out of Jelly. Anyway, then we have a final advice. And yeah, I have very little notes on this. I'll get to that in a minute. Final advice. I pray that the beginning may come from you. This is how I can be saved. They will be enlightened through me by my faith, and through another's that is better than mine. I wish mine to be the lesser. Do your best to be like them, and pray that you may acquire a share with them. Beyond that, beyond what I have said, the Savior did not disclose any revelation to us on their behalf. We proclaim a share with those for whom the message was proclaimed, those whom the Lord has made his children. And my little notes here. This is a good closing exposition overall. But what I am drawn to is the humility of James. That there are those who he says are better than him, or who he wishes to be better than him, and for him to be lesser. Basically, in my view, in my reading of this, it's like he's saying that the other ones will have greater teaching, that they will have a greater way of connecting with Christ, or that their faith will be stronger, that they will have a greater strength with, or a greater relationship with Christ. And to me, that's a lot of humility there, and I kind of admire humility like that, because I know I don't always have it. There's always those times whenever, like, people often do tell me, especially whenever I get into those infamous Facebook wars, that, oh, you just want to be right. Yes, I do want to be right. You know why? Because I think I am, and I'm pretty sure I am. So, but then again, the other person thinks they're right too. The only difference is that whenever I argue a moral point, I have things to back it up. Whereas they will sit there with a bigoted view and continue spouting hatred and falsehoods. But, I mean, a little bit of humility from time to time, is definitely needed. And I definitely get my instant humiliations. My partner is quick to point those out to me. Whenever we are, whenever I'm like saying something and I stutter or stammer, or I get something wrong, maybe a little fact or something like that, and he calls me out, and if we look it up and he's right, and I'll just look at him, shut up, that type of thing. But, I ultimately, even though I hate those times, I kind of also love them because it reminds me that I'm human and that I don't have all the answers. And it's okay not to have all the answers, to constantly be looking for an answer, to constantly be digging into whatever it is, whether it's the history of a Broadway play, or if it's the career of an individual, movie star or whatnot, or if it's just something little, digging it, or little to others but big to me, digging into my own faith and my own practice and whatnot. Little to some, big to me. Those little and big humiliations are immensely important. They ground you to earth. They tell you, hey, you're still human, and you might want to calm your jets a little bit. You're not as great as you think you are, and that's okay. So anyway, I am going to stop yammering on. We are at around 50 minutes ish, which is around the time that I wanted to quit, or to finish this out. Not quit, but finish it out. Hold on here. Yeah, because I have notes of where I need to do my editings and all that stuff. So, yeah, you are going to see some edits in this. Let's see. What do we have going on for next week? Hold on here. Next week, I believe, is... Yeah, I think that's a canonical scripture reading and teaching and whatnot. So yeah, I think. Do we want to leave a comment in the description box below? I had fur or something on my leg. Leave a comment down below. Are we doing a scripture reading, or are we doing spellcraft in biblical spellcrafting? Either one is fine by me. Let me know in the comments below within the next week. Preferably before Saturday the 25th, because yeah, that's my deadline for filming. If you could let me know by Thursday the 23rd of September, it would be much appreciated. If you would like to see a regular scripture reading and my take on it, fantastic. If you would like to see a biblical spellcrafting part, and you know what, if I do that, I'm actually going to go through, son of a gun, where did it go? I think it's out in my bag. I think I'm going to go through Old Style Conjure and pick a couple things out of there, because there's some really great spell work in there. Anyway, with all that being said, do let me know by leaving a comment below. And until next time, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.